Hello friends, this is Anuraj and today I'm going to give few tips for aquarium beginners, and I'm going to share some information on the issues I faced during the first few months after I started my aquarium. First thing you need to understand is that every fish has its own behavior and they have their own diet, and you have to make sure you don't put wrong fishes together. And in the internet you can find a lot of information regarding the fish behavior. You should do a bit of research online before you put them all together. And in this case what you can see is that I have put discus, which is over there, along with the angels, which is not recommended by few people, and some people are saying is that it's fine, and so I took a bit of risk in this case. What I observed is that they are doing good together, and there were few tips regarding discus that you must leave them alone, or you can put them in a school of 6 and above so that they behave well. But 2 is not a good option because they both will be bossing each other and fighting all the time. And angels are aggressive during feeding time. Discus is very calm during the feeding time. It comes at the end after all the fishes are fed. With respect to the serpae, which you can see over there, the small fishes, tiny red one, they are tetras and they are a bit aggressive too, and they don't go really good with neon tetras. I had a school of 6 tetras, neon tetras, and they killed all of them. They're aggressive during the night time when you switch off the light, only with respect to neon tetras. And you have other tetras, rainbow tetras and hockey stick. We have bloodtail, and so they do well together. So that's all about the fishes. So this one is I think it is a black widow or black tetra. I don't know how they call it now. If you know about that fish, just leave it in the comment what kind of fish that is, but I think it is a black widow. It changes color. It's not always black on the tails. It turns completely silver in color at a certain occasion. Yeah, so that's about the fishes, and so let's go to the problems which I faced and what is the information which I like to share with the beginners. First thing is the disease these fishes catch, and about the quarantine. What you might have already heard is that you should never leave the fishes which you get from an aquarium directly into your aquarium. The reason is they might be carrying some diseases, and usually that is ick or some sort of parasites that live in the fishes. Worms, you can say they are worms, and they live on the gills or the fins, or it might be inside their intestine. And you know how it works, that once it get into the water in your aquarium, it can be getting into other fishes that you have, and you can see them drastically behavioral change, drastically changing their behavior, and also their diet. They don't feed well, and they eventually die off maybe a month, or in worst case scenario maybe a week, maybe in few days. Or also I have seen certain things. So as a beginner, what you should be aware of is never leave your fish which you got from aquarium altogether in the same aquarium. And this is in case if you already have few fishes in your aquarium, and if you have just got fishes from aquarium and it's a new tank, then you can put them all together. Then what you should do is you should treat the fishes with few medicine. The basic one is the ick medicine, ICH, that is ick resistant medicines. They are, I think it is methylene blue kind of medicine. So it comes in small bottles, and usually it will be very blue in color, and you just put few drops probably 4 to 5 drops inside your aquarium where the water is moving. Here I don't have, in this setup I don't have a powerful pump, for a reason that these fishes are really tiny and they get thrown away. That and this filter is doing well, so I don't have a huge pump. And if you have a huge pump, you can just drop few drops of medicine on the path of the water so that it get dispersed evenly. If you want to be even more delicate, then you can mix it in water and then pour it into the aquarium so that the concentrated medicine doesn't touch the fish and it might not affect them in any way. The second thing is parasite medicine, and I have gone for Paracidol, which has got some good reviews and it worked for me also. So this medicine, what you have to do is, in the instruction you can see for how much liters, how many ml you have to add and all that. 50 liters you have to add 10 ml. So based on that, how big your aquarium is, you pour required amount into the aquarium. And usually these parasites have 1 week of life cycle. So from the egg or the offsprings come off every week. So it's better you treat every time you change the water, you just treat it for a month or so. So I think all your fishes and your tank also will be parasite free. Don't take this matter as a insignificant thing, because if you are a aquarium hobbyist, this will affect you a lot. You will get depressed if you put a lot of fish in it and every month all of them dies. And in my case, what I have observed is that every time I get a fish, I would say 50% of the fish already has some sign of infections or disease going on. They are dull and they eventually die off, unless otherwise I treat them. This is my experience, and I always recommend you quarantine the fish before you put it in your existing tank. That is really good. If you follow, you won't get depressed because of all the fishes getting died after you buy it. So that's one tip I want to give you. And with respect to planter tank, I will cover in another video. In general, if you put this kabamba kind of plant inside your aquarium, it lives long even with no soil. It just takes the nutrients from the water that is due to the excretes of the fishes. The water will have some nutrients, unless otherwise you are changing water frequently. They should do really well, and they need medium level light. If the plants are giving signs of melting down, then you can put them on some soil substrate outside the tank, or you have any planter tank, you can just put them in there for a while. And I think this plant is melting down. As you can see, there are some branches coming off. Part of the reason is that angelfish bites off most of the branches. They don't feed on them, they just are biting it away. Also the goldfish, never put a kabamba plant in a goldfish tank, they will rip it off. Few fishes do really well with plants. Tetras are really good with plants, and they like planter tanks. So that is there. What else I can tell? With respect to this tank, there is not much of algae issues, but still algae forms on the glass. You can see blurry vision sometimes. In that case, you have to scrub it away. I use this scrubber, dishwash scrubber, the rough one, the green one. Don't put too much pressure, you might scratch the glass inside. Just rub it with medium pressure, and then you will have a very clear glass. And do this before you do the water change, so that whatever you removed will be taken away rather than forming again on the glass. So that is the basic tips. And what are the other things you need to have before owning an aquarium tank, before putting fishes into them, is a siphon pump, which will look like this. So that is a siphon pump which you can use to change water very easily, even if you have gravels in it. This has a fitting at the end of it. This will not allow the gravel to enter inside the tube completely and fall over the other side, so you can maintain the gravel inside. This is some sort of a diamond sand which I bought, pretty expensive in my case. So also, to clean the glass outside the aquarium, you can use Colin, any general purpose cleaner or glass cleaner. Yeah, that you should have. And about lights, I have here white LEDs and blue LEDs and some purple LEDs right here. So as you can see, that this is white LED, and so these are the three colors which are there. The water splashed over the cover, and then you can see that deposits which are due to the water. Yeah, so it's the light. Light is also most important in planted aquarium, which I'll cover later. Yeah. So with respect to the filter, this is called a sponge filter. Most of you might know about this. This is very convenient, and a lot of people use this rather than the big ones, which has a huge pump attached with it. This doesn't have a pump within, it just works based on the air pump, which is that small air pump which you can find in any aquarium shops. So yeah, it just blows in air, and when the air bubbles goes up, it just pulls the water up along with the air. So during the water going upwards, the sponge will absorb all the dirt which are floating around. As you can see, these dirts will get into the pump eventually, the filter eventually, and then you can take the filter away separately and wash it, then put it back again inside, so the water will remain crystal clear for a long time. And with respect to cleaning the tank, I will put another video if possible on how I clean the tank. There are different ways to do it. The best way to do it is first remove all the solid waste which are on the gravel without stirring up the tank. Once that is done, then pour some more water inside, stir up the gravel so that all these small particles will come up into the water. Then you start siphoning out all the water out, and depends on how much time you have. You can put in another time you can put in water, and then again you can stir up, and then take the water out, and then eventually you will get rid of most of the waste, and the remaining will be going into your sponge filter. This is one way of doing it, and make sure you don't agitate the fish so much when you're stirring up the gravel. Do it gently and give as low stress to the fish as possible, so that they don't get injured. Sometimes they panic and they jump if you do any sudden movement, so be very careful during the water change. I wouldn't recommend removing the fish every time outside the tank during the water change. That might hurt them. If it is something like a goldfish, I think you can do that because they don't go so aggressive when you remove them out of water. But I think for tetras and these kind of fishes what I have in my tank, I don't recommend taking them out every time you change the water. Whereas with water change, there are some people who suggest 50%, 70% and 20% water change. It really depends on how dirty your water is when you are changing, and how sensitive your fishes are to the temperature change and the pH change. So the fresh water that is coming out of your tap depends on whether it is a bore water or you have some treatment plant, you have water from some treatment plant where they add some chlorine to it. So these factors affect the fish a lot. Chlorine affects it, so if you are getting from corporation water or it's coming from some water treatment plant, I would suggest not to use that directly. If you have a RO filtration system in your home, which I do, if you have a fish aquarium, then I think you should have an RO unit in your home, either way, whether you are having bore water or not, because if you mix bore water along with RO water, it will be really good for the fishes if you can maintain around 5 to 6 pH, because these are freshwater fishes. They naturally live in that pH. So just add RO water. Around 50% should do. That really shouldn't affect the fish. The RO water is slightly acidic, so don't just use the RO water directly. That is also not good for the fishes. You should use some tap water, but if it is chlorinated water, it's better not to use that. You use the bore water, bore well water, or well water from the well is also good. So that's about the water. Yeah, so as of now, this is all that comes to my mind. And with respect to solid waste on the bottom, just use a siphon pump. Don't try to grab it with something, just net or something. Just use the siphon pump. That should do really well. Yeah, so that's about the first video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comment. If I know, I will tell. When I'm new to this, if I find out something else, I will tell you in the next video. Thank you.